Hi, this is Tony Wade, the Compassionate Investor, and we are here in part 2 of our 3-part series on living in a transitional housing property. Now, I'm here today meeting with Thomas. We're going to talk about some of the roles that he has played for us in this space, and we're going to talk a little bit about our Back to Life program, which I'm so excited about. So go ahead and grab your pen and paper and get ready to hear this information, and we'll be back in just a moment. And we are here talking with Thomas, who is here at one of the properties that we manage. And I'm just so excited to be able to sit here with you, Thomas. First of all, because you've been with us for a minute. How long have you been with us?
2.5 years.
2.5 years. So is this the first time, though, we've had FaceTime?
Actually, it pretty much is.
Well, I'm sorry in advance.
No, and that, the way I look at it is if there's no FaceTime, I'm doing all right.
Right, exactly.
If there's FaceTime, not a good thing.
Right, because the way my role is sort of a dual role, because some people see me when there are issues, because I represent the board of trustees when it comes to the properties. So if you see me too many times, that's probably a bad thing. But I also do the training, so I sort of serve like 2 roles. So, you know, you and I haven't really talked about the training piece, but we're going to make up for some of that today. Okay, so as we just get to know who you are, Thomas, how did you come to us 2 years ago?
Well, when I was incarcerated down in Farmington, I was getting close to my parole time. And so I started, researching where to go and places I could find. And it just wasn't nothing fitting where I wanted to fit. And my counselor person at Farmington says, you could go to, the place downtown, but she goes, it's just another prison.
Yeah.
And she goes, just wait, something will come up. So I found your flyer up on the wall at the Farmington, gave the number to my daughter, my brother.
Mm-hmm.
They called you. Nothing was available. I was going, man, now what am I going to do? How much more am I going to have to put up with here?
Yeah.
And my counselor said, just be patient. Don't worry.
How long did it take you?
Just over about a month and a half.
Yeah, that's pretty good considering we have a wait list sometimes 30 people deep that we don't always get an opportunity to house people. So for you to get a month and a half, that was really good.
It was a good feeling.
Yeah.
Get a phone call and says you got a place.
Yeah. So, and we actually have run a lot of, we did fairs at Farmington. I think that's how you saw our flyer. We had done a fair there, talking about the housing that we provide. So we stay in contact with, several of the facilities, just letting them know that we do have housing. And that was when we first started. But now, since we have such a long wait list, they find us and we sort of help put people on the wait list. But thank goodness you were able to get in after a month and a half and we found you some housing. Now, are you from St. Louis or are you from Farmington?
No,
where are you from?
I lived in Baldwin, but then I grew up in Michigan, lived in California, and now I'm here. So.
Okay. So you were new to St. Louis then, coming to us.
For 20 years, off and on.
Okay, off and on. So you weren't like brand new, spanking. Okay.
No. Well, I know the area. I know how to get to the Arch.
Right.
I know how to get to Baldwin. So I'm good.
Yeah, well, the one thing I love about the housing that we provide, because we cater to individuals of all races, all nationalities who come into our properties needing this. So it's a breath of fresh air to see that we can cater to individuals and do our best to keep people safe in the properties that we have. Because a lot of our properties are in, areas that are, not A category properties in the area, but they're not bad, but we try to keep our housing good. So I'm glad that we were able to meet your needs when you were coming here. Now, I'm just curious, what is your background? Like, what do you do? What do you do?
I was a motivational speaker for 35 years, mostly 35 years. I did a little retail business for about 12 years. But I traveled the country doing 3-screen media programs in schools.
Wow.
About making good choices.
Wow.
And I go to prison because I made a bad choice. So I always had a theme. I tell every school, I said, every choice you make makes a difference. Not doesn't affect yourself, but it affects your family, your friends, your city, your community. And sometimes, in my case, it went across the country. My case went on national TV, which is not how I wanted to be on national TV.
Yeah.
But when you reach a level like that, you just say, okay, I went as low as I can go. I'm going to go back up again.
Yeah. And that's one thing I have realized just being in the work that I'm in right now. We meet all types of individuals that come from different walks of life, and all because of one decision that was made changed their life, right? And it happens to all of us. Nobody is, it is not, everyone has that moment that they make a bad decision.
Nobody's immune to bad
Nobody's immune to it. Thank you. But at the end of the day, when you're given that and you experience that, you then turn it into a positive so that it can help benefit others. And those are the parts we'll talk about as we get into some other segments. But I'm just excited to hear that because, like, as I said, this is my first time FaceTiming with you in person.
Well, yeah, I know. We talked on the phone.
We talked on the phone a lot, but we've never talked, or I had the opportunity to hear some of your background. So I'm actually very excited just hearing your background because it gives me an opportunity to talk about some of the other things that we can do with you. Because you've been here for 2 years. Typically, we like to get with people sometime around 6 months in. We'll talk about more details about that. But I'm just excited to just hear more of your background. Now, is your family still living out in?
Well, my ex-wife's here in town.
Okay.
My daughter's in Indiana. My son's in Springfield, Missouri. Brothers in Colorado. Sisters in Arizona.
Okay.
And so we're spread out.
Well, that's good. I mean, you still probably get the opportunity to see your family and things like that.
Not as much as I used to, but it's coming up.
Okay, good.
Just because I'm off parole now and I can actually start doing things again, which is nice.
Okay. Now, you've been with us for 2 years in shared housing. How do you feel about the shared housing, first of all?
There's always pluses and minuses.
Yeah.
You know, I'd love to have my own bathroom and kitchen and all that kind of stuff, but right now, you make the best of what you've got and where you are.
Exactly.
And you just try to make it as clean and peaceful as you can. So that's the biggest thing for me is, you know, you could ask these other guys. I mean, I try to keep things how I want them to be kept.
Yeah.
It's just how I like to be.
Now, as I said in the last segment, I'm excited for the opportunity just to see what is possible with you as we sort of map some things out. Because typically you would get me 6 months in talking about how you can perform. But before we get into that part, because I don't want to jump ahead of myself, I want to talk about the role that you've been serving for us these last, I think we've been probably seeing you do more of this year in the last 12 months, being almost like a house manager for us. So I don't know if you've ever, we didn't designate that as your role, but you've been doing that. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Didn't know I was, but
I know.
felt like it. So
yeah.
Well, I try to keep things, you know, like I said before, as neat and orderly as possible. Try to, you know, make sure everybody's doing okay. And if there's anything I can do to help, you know, help other people out whenever I can.
So I think when things happen, like I think something happened with the internet one time, you had to handle that for us.
Yeah, I did it a couple times now, but that was always kind of fun. To tell you the truth, it made me feel like I had a little self-worth again.
Yeah.
You know, coming from a place where you go as low as you can, and then have someplace that wants to give you a little, you know, self-worth back. It's a great thing, to tell you the truth, because not every place will allow that.
Yeah, and that's what we like about the house manager role. Not everybody gets that designation, and we really don't go into a formal process. It's just individuals who sort of rise up to the occasion of being that with us. And we know you take pride in your stuff, so it allows for you to take pride in being here. So that's why I'm glad that you were identified as a person that we call on when we need things. So, and that's an important role because it does allow for you to see how you can give back or see how you can still be of value, not just here in the community, but here in the home. Can you share any experiences in that role? I guess that if there's anything specific you could call out related to it, or an experience that you might have had being that person we call on, even if it's relating to the people that are here in the house.
Well, actually, you know, just by able to help with the internet, because I've got a defibrillator that needs to get downloaded every night, and so for me, the internet is pretty darn important. So to be able to be given that kind of responsibility to go and put a new router in and make sure things are working good,
yeah,
you know, made me feel like I had a little bit of self-worth again.
Do you ever have any encounters with any of the other residents, or were there any issues maybe that you had to resolve before it rose into something that was big that you had to call one of us for?
Really, nothing too much. I mean, if there's issues here, we kind of handle them in here, And if it doesn't get resolved to where I think it should be, I'd probably give Tyrone a call and say, "Hey, what's going on?"
And that's typically.
And I'm not gonna pull no punches either. So it's one of those things. I like to, like I said before, I want to be comfortable and feel safe.
And that's important.
So when I don't feel safe, that's when I get concerned.
And that's why I said the house manager role, because you're sort of like that intermediary between us and everyone else, because you're here, but if there's an issue that needs to be resolved, you guys can sort of work those things out together. And the rules that we set up sort of help you do that. So y'all know what the rules are. Our rules are very direct. They're not difficult rules, but they're rules that we expect people to follow. So I was just curious if you had any issues. It's good to hear that you haven't had any here, because that's wonderful. We don't want to have issues. That's why up front we create those rules and guidelines for people to follow. Have you noticed any, have you ever seen rules like that exist before anywhere else? Have you ever lived in this type of housing before?
I've never lived in this kind of housing before, but they actually make sense. You probably could put more rules up there if you want. I'm a kind of a rule kind of guy. Like I said, I like to feel safe and secure wherever I'm at. And you guys have always been helpful when it comes to maintenance stuff, so I feel comfortable with that. That's why I keep doing things, which is I try to make the place better.
Well,
I try to make not just me safe, but everybody here safe.
That's really important. So that's why I say the rules definitely make sure that those things happen, and having individuals on site who can respond to things quicker than we can, or see things that we need to be aware of to keep things moving in the right direction. So that's been extremely valuable to us. So I want to thank you personally for, even though you weren't formally given that designation, you took it on and was able to make sure things could run smoothly for us here.
I just try to be happy.
Yep.
I try to keep things. It's like I said, when I leave, I like to feel safe, and when I come back, things will be right.
That's perfect.
That's the biggest thing.
Now, how does it work out with like the food and everything like that? Does it work out pretty good here? How you guys manage your space for the food and things like that?
Yep, I do keep a few things in my room, but most of the stuff I keep in the refrigerator, and I always put mine in like a bag so people know that it's mine. And so that's what it is. If it's out in the open, it's kind of a free game kind of thing. But because I like to help other people out that might not have what I have, or
right.
That. Where I can just be more helpful too. So
yeah. Do you guys ever have? Because every house is different, so I'm just curious. Do you guys prepare foods together, or you guys sort of do your own thing?
We pretty much do our own thing. Usually on Sundays, when one of the other guys is off work, we'll make a meal for everybody, and that's kind of a fun thing to do, to tell you the truth. So.
Yeah. So some people will do it. You guys will sort of like do it sometime. And once a week.
He puts stuff in, I put stuff in. We kind of make it offer it up for everybody. It just makes it fun.
Yeah, every house is different. I've seen it where, and it depends too on the personalities, because sometimes we've done it where, they do it a lot, but then next thing you know, when things are eaten up that somebody else liked, they already sort of started that. So it's sort of like, you sort of started that already. So I like your approach here at this house, where you still do your own thing separately, but then you do like a little thing once in a while to sort of spice it up a little bit. So that serves really well.
Especially, it's usually on a Sunday, so it's kind of, watching
family day,
football games and all that kind of stuff. And we have a nice meal, get a chance to kind of catch up. With what's going on in the world. So.
Yeah. Well, in the next segment, we're going to talk specifically about opportunities that are available to you as you live in this housing. So, as we're sitting here, we've talked about some good stuff, learning about you and learning about the ways in which you have served us. I want to now talk about ways in which we can serve you. Now, as I said, there are many times that, during like 6 months, between 6 and 12 months, I typically get out and meet individuals who potentially can participate in what we call our Back to Life program. So let me tell you about what it is. Back to Life is a program I created years ago, but we specifically look at individuals who come out of incarceration, and it's more than just simply creating training that teach for individuals who've come out of incarceration, but it's ways in which they can give back. And many things you said to us right now was talking about that very thing, being of value, being able to give back to the community while you're still here. So through Back to Life, my goal is, clearly to deal with, any type of foundational things we need to deal with first. So that's just making sure you have a strong foundation just of self. who you are, a strong foundation of just your mindset and just the things about shifting those thoughts so that you can be, a positive person. Because many times we're torn down by what we've experienced or who we see ourselves as. So getting rid of that stuff first is the big part of what we do in Back to Life. And then once we deal with that, we then talk about ways we build you up, which is making sure financially you got some financial things sound so that you can be able to make money and move forward with income, but then also get into investment property ownership. Because I like home ownership, but I love investment property ownership. And those are the type of things I teach people. So this model that we have here, potentially you could also have one for yourself that I will show you how. We personally show you how to do this, where you really can get into it with almost pennies on the dollar, if I had to say, because of the way we've structured it, so that you can ultimately own your own investment property and build from there. So with that framework that I just laid down to you, because you could qualify if you wanted to, is that something you'd be interested in participating in?
Well, anything that can help other people is my biggest concern in life. I mean, that's why I did my entire life, is try to motivate people to be better than they were, better today than they were yesterday, and look for the future to make yourself even better than you are today. Because after you go through incarceration, if you haven't been incarcerated, you get beat down. I mean, no matter what you do or how you say it. And it's a hard thing to break when you don't have the resources or the people around you to help you build you back up. If you're just stuck with around a bunch of other people who've been incarcerated, you're not going to get any better.
No.
Now me, I'm not going to let that bother me. I'm going to keep myself going, because I'm only 64, but I mean, I got stuff I'd still like to do.
Exactly.
And I like to build people up. I mean, I try to do it. And sometimes I get beat down too, because you can get caught up in that trap.
Yeah.
Like, oh, poor, pitiful me thing. But I'm not going to let that bother me.
No.
Because I have to keep moving my way forward. My kids keep me wanting to move forward. My brother does. And so I've got a good support staff that wants me to do more.
That's beautiful.
And they've seen what I've done in the past, and they said, you're just going to keep doing it.
And I could see you doing that here, like just to talk to you about how it would work. Because you definitely have the skill sets to do this. You did it before you were incarcerated. So the things that are necessary, and you were self-employed, I think I heard you say too.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that right there was what was resonating with me, because that truly, Back to Life helps first set you up first by dealing with the things you dealt with, and then start propping you up in this model. And the great thing I love, because you were saying about how you want to give back, this here allows you to do that. So imagine this property here, instead of you living down here with other people, you'd be living here by yourself in your own level. And then on the other side, the 4 individuals up there, you would serve as a mentor to them to get through the program. Because once you've gone through the program with us and you walk through everything, got to the point where you own this property, you now give back to those individuals, serving as their mentor, serving also as the house manager, because you've managed it, you know how it runs. So by doing that, you then help them do the same thing you just did, which is then to get them into their own investment property.
That's the biggest thing.
You imagine?
You got to keep people growing, otherwise they're going to be stuck in a rut.
Exactly.
And that's, to me, that's the saddest thing in the world. You see somebody stuck in their rut, saying, "This is all I'm ever going to do. This is all I'm ever going to be at." I said, "No, man. There's other things to do.
There's a lot to do.
You can make yourself better if you want to. If you don't want to, you can just live down the street and see them on the news every day.
Yeah.
People don't want to make themselves any better.
Nope.
Me, I can't live like that.
And that's the key thing, because you have to want it for yourself.
That's it.
That's why I said I don't take everybody in this program. And there's a lot of people who will say, "Oh, I want to get in," because it's 2 things. You have to want it, but you also have to come recommended by somebody. Somebody has to nominate you to be a part of the program, whether it's a family member, whether it's, some people have their own POs or a case manager. It doesn't matter, but we've got people who will say, "You know what, this is someone you should consider, and this is why." And they show examples of how that individual took action in their life that made them perfect for this particular opportunity in Back to Life. So that's why I'm excited. And I hate that it took us 2 years to get face to face.
We all get busy.
Yeah,
no matter
busy.
what. I mean,
yeah.
know, 'cause even though I'm retired, I still work part time basically. I kind of go off and off from that. But I mean, we have good days and bad days.
Yeah.
But it's a matter of, I wish I could help more people doing more things.
Well, you're going to be able to do that because I'm sure there's somebody I would probably nominate you because I see the qualities in you already. You already have your own business as well. And there's that business acumen we build up through Back to Life as well, which you already have some of that. So these are some things I easily can see us working you into. It's just a matter of how do we now get you qualified? Because there's other things that we look at outside of a nomination to make sure that you are perfect for the program. So that is definitely to come. And I'm excited that you're just giving me the opportunity to sit with you, Thomas.
Well, it's been fun for me, to tell you the truth. I could go on for hours.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I could, but you know, if it wasn't so chilly out here.
I know, it is a little chilly.
If it isn't a month or two ago, when it was a little warmer, I'd been all right.
Right.
Right now, it's a little chilly.
Well, it is a little chilly, but
it's okay. So it's been nice. It's been nice getting to know more of Tyrone.
Yeah.
Because it seems like I get called on for things.
Yeah, you do.
Hopefully he doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother him when I text him about stuff. And it's like, you know, I hope not, but you guys always seem to take care of me.
Yeah.
And that's all I care about.
Well,
other people are here, other things.
Yeah.
When you're good to people, people are good to you.
And we want to do our best to make sure we're good to you as well as you working here with us. So more to come on all of that.